What we are trying to do over here is we are trying to incorporate a scientific approach to trading the markets based on what the market is telling us, not based on our view of the market. It's based on what the market is doing and the message it is giving us. And order flow is the clearest sign of what the market intends to do and what it wants to do. What we are trying to do over here is we are trying to incorporate a scientific approach to trading the markets based on what the market is telling us, not based on our view of the market. It's based on what the market is doing and the message it is giving us. And order flow is the clearest sign of what the market intends to do and what it wants to do. What we are trying to do over here is we are trying to incorporate a scientific approach to trading the markets based on what the market is telling us, not based on our view of the market. It's based on what the market is doing and the message it is giving us. And order flow is the clearest sign of what the market intends to do and what it wants to do.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Great. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to this Monday 5 o'clock session we have every week. And today's session, let us start with the monthly charts of spot, both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty, because we have completed the month of August on Friday. So let's have a look at what we did in August in both Nifty as well as Bank Nifty, and then have a look at the weekly time frame, and then we'll come on to the daily auction of what happened today and what we can expect in the days coming forward. So we have the top to bottom approach at VTrender. So we have a look at what the auction is doing at the monthly and then the weekly and then the daily. And although we are trading off the shortest time frame in order flow, we look at the 30 minutes and 3 minute signals to take trades. But we also have a view of the uh, bigger time frame auction and want to sync ourselves with that. So now, coming to this, we do have these reports which are published on the website every month, every week, and every day. So this is the monthly report which is published in the web on the website under the forum section. So let us start with the Nifty and see what Nifty did in the month of August. So this chart is the daily market profile chart of Nifty spot of August from 1st August to 30th of August. So as we can see, the previous month's report, we had ended it as Nifty has formed a bullish normal variation profile for the month with completely higher value and with the series VWAP at 24470, which is around where the rollover point of August is. So rollover point of August, when we start a new series, we make note of three important references for the monthly time frame. The first one is the rollover point, which is the highest volume which come into the new expiry, and then it will be the monthly POC and the series VWAP of that particular month. So in case of the month of August, when we began, we had the rollover point at 24460. So that was our reference as we began the month. And what we did was we opened with an A period selling tail at all-time highs, similar to what we have done today. I'll come to today's auction in a bit. But on 1st of August, we opened higher. We made new all-time highs in Nifty spot. But we left a small A period selling tail. So we give a lot of importance to A period tails in market profile because that indicates to us initiative activity, initiative player, a big player has entered the market and he wants to play the market in his direction. So which is why we give lot of importance to AP rate singles, and especially if it is coming on important zones. For example, yesterday the highs not yesterday, sorry, on August 1st, the highs we made were new all-time highs in Nifty. And there, when we got a selling tail, it was obvious that the demand is not uh, coming in at the new highs. So once that happened on Monday, 1st of August, we even had this discussion in the 5 p.m. session, and we were telling as long as that AP rate selling tail is held, we are looking for more downside. And immediately that AP rate selling tail was followed by a gap down. And the gap down is another invisible selling tail because the seller who has entered in the previous session has forced the market to open lower. So when we gap lower on the second day also, it was very obvious that the market is headed lower. And then we had another huge gap down over the weekend. When we opened on Monday, the 5th of August, we opened with a big gap down and we went on to make a low of 23893 in spot. So we had a big fall over the three sessions, and on the monthly time frame, what we did was we just took support just above this monthly extension handle of June. We can see how this RTPO on the monthly chart, this is a monthly profile chart of Nifty, and this RTPO is extending and is showing us an extension handle. Because why is this an extension handle? Because there is no other TPO coming around this place and it is just moved this auction away from here. So this extension handle on the spot was at 23889, So this was in June. And when we made those new lows in August, the third day of August, which was 5th of August, we held just above this extension handle. So this is how these long-term references help us to gauge what the market is trying to do and get important reversal points. So here when we made this lows, we had this reference that it was holding. So we wanted the auction to break the 23889 for more downside, but that did not happen. If you see on this daily chart, after the trend day we had on 5th of August, we had the POC of that trend day at 24012, and that POC was held in the sense value was formed after this 5th of August above this POC. So that was very clearly indicating that the sellers who had entered had booked, and now there is not much aggressive selling which is uh, remaining in the market. So after this bounce back and this dip which we made on 14th of August, this is the first time in August we got an A period buying tail. Remember, we started with an A period selling tail, and which is why we were of the view that the auction is headed lower. And after we made this trend day down and a B shape kind of a profile on 5th, and this POC holding, it was clear that the downside is limited. But for the buyers to come back and for us to uh, get a confirmation that now the PLR has changed from a balance to the upside, we needed some confirmation, which came in a form of an A period buying tail on 14th. This was the first session in August which gave us a initiative buying tail. So once we got this, it gave us one new reference. Otherwise 24012 was our reference. Now this buying tail would be our new reference. And when we opened higher on 16th after the Independence Day holiday, it was very clear that the buyer who has entered here is wanting to probe higher. So we made a seaside extension on 16th and we took support just above this 14th August high. 24196 I think was the high of that day. So when we are holding that, now it is very clearly telling us that the auction has changed the character, and now that the path of least resistance is to the upside. And from here on, you can see when we are falling down, we were leaving VPOCs on the daily time frame on the upside. And as we are going higher, we are leaving VPOCs on the downside. So we left this VPOC at 24157. Then we at this neutral extreme day VPOC of 24505 was never tagged. After which we began to get continuous A period buying tails. So after this 14th of August, when we got a uh, indication of initiative buyers coming in, the auction was mostly forming value higher or at the most overlapping on the daily basis. And we were getting more of A period singles and buying singles. So you can see how that was confirming that the buyer was in control for the second half of August. We continued to form higher value, and in the last week on the first day on Monday, we gave this big A period buying tail, after which it became a narrow range balance. So it was more a short covering P-shaped profile, but as long as this A period buying tail was holding, the sellers did not have much of a chance to push it lower. So we formed an overlapping balance for the next 3 days. And from there on Thursday last week, we made this another neutral extreme profile where we left a failed auction at the lows at 24998. So it was again confirming that because these A period buying tails are being defended, the path of least resistance is to the upside. And the last day of the month, we saw a gap up, but we did not see much of good trade facilitation, and we formed a narrow 69 point range balanced profile with a prominent POC at 25240. So now this is the monthly profile of August. As you can see, we have extended on the downside as well on the upside. So the monthly profile is a neutral uh, profile and has formed an outside bar both in terms of range and value, because you can see the range is also extended on both sides and the value is also overlapping on the both sides. So the important reference on the monthly time frame going forward, the bottommost would be this responsive buying tail which we have, which is from 23960, and then we have the POC of August, which is overlapping with the POC of June, which is at 24323, and the series VWAP of August is at 24588. So these 24323 and 24588 would be our lower references for the month of September, and the immediate reference as we began the new month today would have been at 25270, which is the rollover point for September futures. So on the upside, you can see we have formed an extension handle at this 25129 in Nifty spot, because what we are doing is we opened higher and then I'll open the monthly profile chart and split that so that we can have a so we'll come to today's auction in a bit. We'll just so you can see this is the split version of the monthly chart. Split in the split version, what we get is we get individual days profile chart as one TPO. So this A is the 1st of August, then we have the 2nd of August as B, and so on. So here we can see what we did on 27th is made new all-time highs of 25129, not on 27th, sorry, on 29th. So here we had this on 27th also we made new all-time. Starting from 27th, we made new all-time highs on all days of August for the remaining 3 days. So the first new all-time high above the 25078 was 25129. And when we made this higher highs on 29th, we have left one extension handle on the monthly time frame at this 25129 level. So this 25129 would be one reference on the downside for September, just like we had this extension handle which I showed you in June at 23889. So this is a similar extension handle which we have got for July. So we can see how this supported in the drop in August, and we went on to make new all-time highs. So going forward, this will be one important reference. If 25129 is held in any dip, or we get a confirmation in the market profile that we are getting a buying tail over there, then that will be an indication that the probe lower is getting some buying back. So on the monthly, coming back to the monthly chart, the review, what we did on the closing statement was the monthly profile is a neutral one. It dropped by a whooping 118384 points in the first 3 sessions and took support at an important swing level of 23889, which is the June extension handle. And then it not only retraced the entire fall but went on to leave a new buying extension handle at the 25129, closing in an imbalance. And we have a 1375 point range for the month. It is an outside bar both in terms of range and value. The value for the month is given here: 23912, 24323 and 24810. And the August series VWAP I already mentioned is at 24588. So the September rollover point of 25270 will be the immediate reference as we enter a new series, staying above which the imbalance can continue towards 25332 and 25490 as immediate objectives. So this was our objective, the first objective on the upside, and this will be our second objective on the upside. So in the monthly report, we also have these monthly zones where we mark the last 6 months references along with the rollover point. So this is where we have that 25270 and this 24558 and 24323 for the month of September. So this is how the Nifty spot was placed. Because we are talking about Nifty spot, let us also have a look at how the weekly profile of Nifty spot played out last week. So just like we have a monthly report, we also have the weekly report. And as I mentioned at the start of this session, we have the top to bottom approach. So we look at the monthly, then the weekly, then the daily time frame. So on the weekly, you can see how the Monday started with a initiative buying tail, which told us that we need to look for upside in Nifty spot for the week. Why? Because we were well above the weekly POC of previous week, and then we were above the weekly value. So when we are getting an initiative buying tail, so till the time we are holding this buying tail, we will look for upside. And on the daily basis, we will see if the POC is being formed on a higher basis, which is there in this case. Although the value was overlapping on most days, the POC, as you can see, was shifting to the upside. And then we ended with this narrow range profile on Friday. So the weekly profile is a trouble distribution trend one up because it was forming a P-shape kind of a composite over the first 3 days. And then the Thursday, which made an attempt to move away from that POC and got rejected. And for the first time in the week, made a lower range extension because you can see we have AP rate singles on the first 3 days. So these are buying tails. That means the buyer entered at open and he held on to the opening levels. But on Thursday, it was the first time where we did have a AP rate buying tail. But once we made that GP rate high of I think 25174, there was a liquidation drop and we made the first range extension lower for the week. But that was very swiftly rejected. And this level was at 24998, where we have confirmed a FA because this not only got rejected, but we went on to make new highs in the L. So this was a neutral extreme profile and 24998, as we always maintain that a failed auction is a very important concept in market profile, and it helps us to reconfirm the bias, or it also gives us at times, many times it has given us important reversal points. So in this case, it was telling us that the seller did make an attempt, but the buyer won him over again. So the PLR remained to the upside. And from this FA, we had our objective of the 180R and 280R. And the reference which was given as the first objective on the monthly chart, this 25332, was the 280R objective from that FA of 24998. So these were the hypos which were given for today. As you can see, we never went in the lower hypos because we had a higher open. We had opened well above this POC, but we opened right at this 25332 level. So if I open today's chart and see what has happened today in Nifty and what we can expect going forward, I'll just increase this GPO size because we are not able to see the tails which are there in the profile because of the TPO size. So the open in Nifty has been a bullish one on the weekly time frame. Why is it been a bullish one? Because we are well above the previous week's value and POC, and we have this weekly extension handle at 25174. This has been mentioned in the weekly report. So it was a double distribution trend up profile, and with completely higher value, and we have a DD extension handle at 25174. So just like we have that monthly extension handle at 25129, we have a weekly extension handle at 25174. So this also is one important support level in Nifty spot for this week and as well as the rest of September. And the upper HVNS is at 25240. So staying above this, we have already mentioned this in the monthly report. So continue towards 25332 and 25490 in the Bappa week. What is the Bappa week? Bappa week is where we get that very famous Ganesh Chaturthi festival, and we have seen many cases, most often than not, that around the festival of Ganesha, the market does show some bullish signs. So post the festival, it may drop, but around the festival, it is always bullish. In fact, last year was a perfect example where I think we made a short-term top right at the festival day or just after the festival day, and from there we started to drop. So that is why the sentiment for this week is bullish, but it is not just a blind bias which we will have, and we will want the auction to confirm that bias on a daily basis. So what has happened today is we opened above this extension handle, we opened above the POC, which was our reference. But what we did was we opened right at that objective we had mentioned of 25322. So, and once we hit that, it is seen many times that in market profile or in an auction process, whenever a good objective of that auction is uh, achieved, it'll definitely want to take a pause. So that is what happened. That is what we saw today in Nifty. Once it hit the 25322, which was the 2 ATR reference from that failed auction of 24998, we did not get any more uh, extension on the upside, and we got settled into an open auction out of range, and we had a narrow range IB. So once the upside got stalled, the Nifty had only one way left, that is to probe lower and test the previous profile's reference. What was the previous profile reference? It was, the first reference was that HVN of 25240. So that is what we did. Once we were not able to get above that initial balance, we made range extensions on the downside and we tested that HVN of 25240. But what we did in the test is we left a small responsive buying tail in the hedge. So that means that POC for now is shown rejection, and it is shown that the buyers may be defending it. So, and from here we got back to make a pullback of 25290, and that is where we also have today's POC also, and that will be our reference for the coming days on the upside. So in case Nifty needs to remain bullish, we will need to stay above this 25290 level and then take off this ledge kind of a selling tail which we have. B, D, and E, you can see all of them have made similar highs, and this is around, I think, 25322. So we can continue to have that high of 25333 as our upside reference above this 25290 for tomorrow. And once we get above this, we are clear for that 25490 tag which we are expecting. On the downside, as we have shown rejection here, it is important for us to hold this 25235 level. In case this is broken, then we can go on to test these weekly extension handle of 25174 and then the monthly one of 25129, which we have spoken. So that is how we are placed in Nifty spot. On the downside, we have this 25235 as the support, and then 25174 and 25129. On the upside, we will need to sustain about 25290 and then get accepted above this 25333 level. So let's see how this week goes, and also how the month of September progresses from here. So we do have a very small A period selling tail today, but it is a very negligible one. It is just 11 points. It is not as prominent as what we got in August. And in August, the difference was on the very first day we formed lower value. We were no, on the very next session we made lower value. So tomorrow's session will be important in case we open lower and stay below this 25290 and then again leave another A period selling tail, then we can say that the auction is more uh, biased to the downside. So, but if we open within this range, then it will not be a bearish chart, it will be one of a neutral one, and then we will see what it does at this 25240 level. If it is holding this tail, then we will expect the buyers to come back and make a range extension on the upside. So quickly moving back to the monthly report and talking about what Bank Nifty has done in the month of August. So Bank Nifty, in fact, as we had spoken and as we have been speaking in these sessions, has been the weaker of the two. And Bank Nifty, the downside started way back in July. In fact, July 4th was the all-time high it made. And from there, we have an A period selling tail and it continued to probe lower. So the Bank Nifty profile, the monthly profile looks like a B-shaped profile. And if I show the daily profiles, we can see even Bank Nifty started with the A period selling tail, and then the very next day we opened lower and value was formed lower. So this was telling us that the start of a week or a start of a month has been dominated by sellers. And after this, we had that big gap down on 5th of August, and then we went on to hit that monthly VPOC. So when we are talking about monthly time frame, we take a look at monthly objectives. So in for June, the monthly POC of Bank Nifty was at 49947, which had not been tagged. So once the seller got activated on the monthly time frame, that would have been their objective, and that is where we hit and we started to form a balance. So what we did in the process was we began to form overlapping value at lows. So although it was not showing us any signs of demand, but it was very clearly showing us profit booking by the sellers. So once we made an attempt to probe higher and then made this dip on 14th, we in fact made new lows. And you can see how, unlike Nifty, Bank Nifty was forming value right at that POC level of the 5th of August. Because in Nifty, it was very clear that the POC had shown support and we are forming value above the POC on the preceding days. But in Bank Nifty, we remained around this POC and kept uh, forming balance. And like on 14th, what we did was we made new lows for the month. It was marginal new lows, but it was new lows nonetheless. But what it did was, just like in Nifty, we got an A period buying tail. Bank Nifty also left a very small A period buying tail on 14th. So that was one indication that finally we may see the buyers coming back, because more so because the sellers were not able to push below these lows. They made 2-3 attempts to probe lower, but they could only make marginal lows. So once we got this A period buying tail confirmed end of the day, we were looking at this value to be defended by the buyers. And on 16th, the higher open did get some selling and profit booking, and that seaside which followed was rejected right at this value area high of 14th, and we also confirmed a failed auction here. So that is how we get that bias confirmed in market profile. It is not just one day. We also see what happens in the following sessions. So after this A period buying tail came in, we saw this failure by the sellers in the seaside extension, and here we got a failed auction getting confirmed at 49806. So from here, the PLR for us on the higher time frame became to the upside, and the objective, just like how we saw in Nifty, how we got the 2 ATR objective, the objective from this failed auction was at 51111 in Bank Nifty. So which we went on to tag, I think, on 23rd, the closing day of the week before the expiry week. So we hit that, and it was not a very clear trending move in Bank Nifty, because we can see overlapping values here. One day we formed higher value, then we formed lower, but these two POCs were held. This is where the buyer had entered and reconfirmed his presence. So when this was holding, we were looking for this profile to hold and give us a dip and a new reference to go long. So this POC of 5520 did exactly the same, after which we again made a slow probe higher into the close. What we did on in the last week of August was we formed a 4-day balance in Bank Nifty, and we were stalling right below this 2nd August VPOC of 51454. So which we finally tagged on 30th, which was the last day of August, but we could not sustain, and we left a failed auction at 51466. So the monthly profile in Bank Nifty is a long liquidation B shape one, and we have this selling tail. So this selling tail will be very important, and if we need to get bullish in Bank Nifty in the month of September. And one more point I would want to mention here is, in generally September is a big month, especially for Bank Nifty. So most of the years we have seen September give a big range in Bank Nifty. So in case we are getting that range, if it is on the upside, we will first need to take off this selling tail from the previous month. So if we take the selling tail off, then we will be good to go and tag the monthly VPOC, which is at 52133, and that will be our target. You can see this 51708, 52133, and whereas on the downside, the 4-day POC of 51214. So I will just move on to the weekly chart and show you that 4-day balance. So this will be our support on the downside, and if we do not hold this, then we can go on to test this VPOC of 50520, which I explained how gave us that dip buy confirmation in Bank Nifty. So the monthly zones which we need to make note of in Bank Nifty are these. The rollover point of September is at 51415, and the series POC of August is at 5415, and the series VWAP is at 50629. So these will be the important levels which we will carry forward for entire September, and we will watch what the auction does at these levels, both in spot as well as in futures. So quickly moving to the Bank Nifty weekly profile. As you can see, I was showing you the condensed version. Here is the bigger version. So what we did last week in Bank Nifty was, you can see all 4 days were having overlapping value. But on the downside, whenever they made an attempt to get into weekly value or this prominent POC of 50995, it was rejected. And how? Why? Because it was showing us tails. The first 2 days we got initiative tails as A period singles, and the next two sessions we got responsive tails. One was in the M, which was a spike, and the next was in the K. So you can see how on all 4 occasions this entry was being defended. So it was telling that the Bank Nifty is forming a base around this POC, which is 50995, and it is wanting to probe higher. And when it is doing this on the weekly time frame, you will obviously look for objectives on the weekly time frame. So the weekly time frame objective on the upside, you can see this in VPOC line which has not been tagged, which is at 41485. This was our objective, and we just chopped short of it on Friday. We made this high of 51466, and we tagged the daily VPOC, but we could not take off this weekly VPOC. So what we did on the weekly time frame, you can see weekly is showing us a nice Gaussian curve. What is a Gaussian curve? It is a well balanced profile, and it can happen on any time frame. And what it tells us is, from a balance we can expect a fresh imbalance to begin. So what Bank Nifty has done over the last 5 sessions is form a balance, and it has formed a balance with higher value on the weekly time frame. So what we are looking at is a move away from this balance. But for that move away, what will it need to do? So auction will have to negate the failed auction of 51466, and then we have to sustain above the weekly VPOC of 51486, and we can move towards the 51929 objective, and then the July VPOC of 52133 on the upside, above which we have these weekly failed auctions of 52547 and 52794 as the upside targets for the month of September. So these are the references which are already been given in this weekly report, and this is on for spot, and this is the upside levels. Whereas on the downside, this 51214 would be our immediate reference, below which the swing zone. Why is this a swing zone? Because we have left 2 daily swing lows at this level. One was on last Thursday, which was at 5984, and one was on last Tuesday, which was at 5934. So if this is defended, we can still expect the buyers to come back. If not, if this is broken, then we can look for a tag of this VPOC of 5520, and finally that 49950 from where we started that reversal in Bank Nifty. And in between, this weekly failed auction of 5283 will be the important reference. So let us now see what we have done in Bank Nifty today, and see what we can expect for the rest of the sessions going forward. So as you can see, Bank Nifty, we opened higher. We scaled above this weekly VPOC, which was our objective. And on the upside, the next reference as per our hypo was at 51586, which was the selling tail from 2nd of August. So what we did today was we just stalled below that. You can see the IBH today, the high at open was 51579. So that selling tail from 2nd of August is still not giving us a gate pass to continue higher. So that is where we have stalled. But what we did was, we did leave an AP rate selling tail and we probed lower. We made a range extension in the C and then followed by E and F. But the entry into previous week's value is not uh, been completed. So this prominent POC is holding. So we can expect some kind of support in this zone, and what the auction is doing is filling up this upper part of previous week's profile. So if we combine this, we can see this will be a nice smoother balance which we will have. And in this balance, we have the tail at both ends. This is the buying tail and this is a selling tail. So if I unmerge this profile back, this selling tail of today, which is I think some 51555 to 51579, will need to be negated going forward. So we also mentioned about how that 51608 is a selling tail on the monthly time frame. So in August, we have that 51608 to 5188877 as the selling tail. So 51608 you can take as an important level, and we need to sustain about that, take off previous month's high of 51877, and then we can look for more upside in Bank Nifty. You can see this is a selling tail and this is one VPOC which can be a target 52249, and higher up we have this weekly VPOC of 53100, which will be the higher objective if we get a trending move to the upside. So we have a nice balance on the weekly. So there is a very good chance that Bank Nifty can give us a trending move in the coming days. But we will need to be careful and we'll need to see how it is developing on a daily basis. So on the downside, if we stay below this POC and we are breaking below this swing lows, then we are looking for a downside move to that 5520 and 49950 level. And on the weekly time frame, the lowest VPOC is at 49733. So that will be the final objective if we are looking for a move which sustains in that direction. Just like how we have 53100 on the upside, which is from the July first week's profile, we have this 49733 as the downside reference, which is from 12th to 16th of August. So this is how we are placed in Nifty and Bank Nifty spot. The hypos which we discussed would be updated in the weekly report, and you will have them updated in this hypos section. The hypos for 3rd of September would be here, and so on for the rest of these days. So apart from this, let us have a quick look at what we have done in the futures chart. And for that, let me open the futures profile chart along with the order flow. Let's start with the Nifty profile. And what I'll do is I'll open a 2-window mode so that we can have the profile on one side and the order flow on the other. And what we do is when a new series starts, we use the series wise symbol, because if we just use Nifty, it will show us the continuous references. So we will miss out on the important references which the September series has left. So it is important for the first couple of sessions at least that we use the series wise chart both in order flow as well as market profile. So we have the Nifty profile chart on left and we have the order flow on the right. I am shifting this to the 15-minute order flow so that we can have a very quick review of what we did today and what were the probable setups for the day. So as you can see, we opened higher in Nifty, and at the open we can see more reds being stacked at the new highs. We have 4 rows of reds which are together, and the auction moved lower and got back into previous day's range. So if a gap up is strong and the buyer wants to hold on, it will not get back into previous day's range. It would have held above, it would have got buying at this 25399 level, which did not happen. So once we got back below VWAP, it gave us an open auction confirmation, because even the volumes were just about average 27,000 contracts. So if this had to be a drive or an open rejection reverse, this volumes needed to be at least double of the average volumes. And what an open rejection reverse or an open drive down would have done is in the initial balance itself or in the A period itself, it would have swiped through this entire range and value of Friday. So that is the reason it was not doing that, because it was more an open auction. And what we did was we formed RBs in the A and B period, and we made that new lows in the B, but what those new lows got was an RB. So from this RB, which got stalled right at previous value, we got a retracement back above VWAP. So this retracement back above VWAP then resulted in an RS at 24509. So this is how we look at order flow to give us signs. If we are getting RS, if we had got an IS, we would be bearish. And we would be bearish as long as we keep continuing into this range. But because we got this RB right at this value area high of Friday, it was a very clear sign that you need to book out if you are short, and you can look for a retracement rate to the VWAP. And here we did get this IB, but the IB was not able to take off these highs of the morning. You can see this zone of 4 reds, which had come at 25410, was not able to be taken out for the rest of the day. So when we made this pullback high in the E period, the high was right at the 25410, and you can see how this is matching exactly at this. We had this information in the first 15 minutes itself that the sellers are pushing at this zone, and we got this reconfirmation. And once this pullback high broke below VWAP, so this was a very clear indication that because this IBs got negated and the morning sellers which was seen are holding the 25410, the auction is now looking for a probe lower. And for that we needed a range extension, which we got. We got a range extension starting from the F, and then we did that big G period move to the downside. So once we got back into this value of Friday, we completed the 80% rule. In fact, we had this discussion in the audio session today in the trading room, where we had discussed this probability of a trade setup. We do that at 10:30, so that time we were only in the C period. So on the upside, we had marked this 25410, which needed to be taken out with an IB in order flow. But we did get one IB, but there was no follow up, and we went on to break that IB. So then we went on to complete that 80% rule. And in the 80% rule, you can see how below VWAP we got a couple of IS bars. So this was confirming that now the sellers are in control. And once it hit that objective, that 25290 was also the 2IB mark of today. So this value area low was holding. So this is when this is holding, we know that it is time for us to book out, because even we started to get some good greens at the lows. So this 1252 green is clearly showing us that this zone is back, being supported by the buyers. So from here we did get a bounce back to the VWAP, but we were not able to take off this VWAP. We also have an extension handle at this 25360 level, which will be the reference. So we have the POC, we had the POC also right there, and the VWAP is also at the same reference. So the 25360 would be one important reference for tomorrow on the upside. Whereas on the downside, the POC is shifted lower here, and we have a 2-day overlapping POC at this 25335. So we will need to first negate the lower RBs which we have seen today. So we just quickly change this to the 30-minute. We can also have a look at the tails which we have left. So you can see on the upside we have this tail from 25409 to 25418, and the lower one, the responsive buying tail, is from 25306 to 25296. So if we are able to break this tail, then the lower objective for tomorrow on the downside would be this VPOC of 25267, which is also the rollover point as we had discussed. So this will be our reference on the downside. If we stay below this 25335, we will need to see what order flow shows us at this level to then take probable action. And because the main trend in Nifty is on the upside, we have these anchored VWAPs which are marked. This one is from the swing low of 23rd of August, and this is at 25237. So below this 25267, this will be our lower reference. This is also matching with this VWAP of 25226 from 29th of August, which was that neutral extreme profile. Neutral, no, yeah. And then we have another anchored VWAP of 25182. This is from the 14th of August, which we saw from where we got a first initiative buying entering in Nifty. So these would be the references on the downside, whereas on the upside for tomorrow, we will need to get some buy side signals in order flow at this 25360 level, and then take out that 25410 seller, which has been very uh, strong today. So the volumes were not too uh, big today. So in case we get a big player who is entering tomorrow on the long side, he could be able to get above these selling references. But all said and done, we will have to wait for the volumes and the order flow to show us what it wants to do, and accordingly look for some good trading setup for the rest of the week, which I am sure we will definitely get. So value wise, we have formed overlapping to higher value. So it is, we cannot say that we are extremely bearish in Nifty, nor we can say that we are bullish. Why we are not bullish? Because we have seen presence of sellers at these new highs, and we have closed below the VWAP. We remain below VWAP after that FTPO, which made that range extension, and this pullback high in L has stalled right at that IBL level. So unless we take this out, we Nifty will remain a little weak, and if we take off this responsive buying tail, then we are looking for downside. So upside, we need to sustain about this VWAP and then take out that 25410 with buy side volumes in the order flow. So that is as far as the Nifty futures is concerned. A quick look at the Bank Nifty futures chart before we wind up, because we are already exceeded the time. So the profile chart is on the left, and we'll have the order flow chart on the right. So what we did on Friday in Bank Nifty was we got a good initiative buy side tail, and this initiative buy side tail did not have much of volumes around this 51,500 mark. And what we did today in Bank Nifty was the exact opposite of what happened on Friday. So I'll just show you the order flow chart. And we'll have the same 15-minute version. And these important nuances and the live data which is being tracked in order flow is being discussed throughout the day in the room at the VMR, where we look for such we look for the good setups to play out and accordingly look to take some good trades. So we we have the 15-minute order flow chart. I'm quickly just moving on to the Friday's opening 15 minutes, just to show how the opening 15 minutes looked like a drive, but did not have much of volumes below this 51580 level. So although if you see the profile chart, it looks as if it is an open drive to the upside. We don't have much volumes in this zone. And what we saw was one big buyer coming in at 51,600 who defended the day, that entire day, which whenever we are getting a dip lower, that buyer was defending the level. So what we did today in Bank Nifty was the total opposite. We opened higher, and as you can see in the profile chart, it looks like an open rejection reverse or an open drive down. But if you see in the order flow, you can see the similar kind of an play here, just like what we saw on Friday, but this is to the opposite side. We have zeros on the upside. 51730 was an unvisited VPOC where we stalled on Friday. So you can see we are not getting any volumes above that, and that remains one important reference. And because we did not get any volumes above it, we were not too bullish in Bank Nifty. But what Bank Nifty did was made the typical seaside extension, and the typical seaside extension was shown as an RB with zeros on the sell side. So we have a good setup which tells us that in case these conditions are fulfilled in that seaside extension, we can look for a visit to VWAP, which it promptly did, but it left a pullback high and went on to make new lows. But here you can see when we are making new lows, we are not getting much of sell side volumes. So that is telling us, and on the profile chart, you can see this anchored VWAP from the swing low of 27th of August is right there, 51534. So when we are hitting that anchored VWAP, what we are getting here is RBs. You can also see we have a 1,000 lot seller, and even here when we made these new lows in the hedge period, we've got RB signals and zeros on the sell side. So this is telling us that the seller is not able to put much pressure. And when this an anchored VWAP of a swing low is being supported, you can definitely expect a retracement. And this is what it did. It went on to swipe above VWAP and make highs of 51729. You can see how we have stalled right at that 51730 level again. And here in this rise, you can see how the sellers came back. When as we were going higher, we got good reds sellers coming into the auction, and with this the POC also shifted to the top, and this was a very classic case of profit booking plus supply coming in. So in fact we were in a live call trade when this was happening, and Shai asked us to book out when he saw the book out fully after the first part profit booking exercise we did, because the POC has shifted higher and we were getting reds, big reds on the in the important zone. So you can see on all these three bars, you got some good big reds and the RS was being formed. So that is the reason from here we went on to make a dip back to VWAP. And what we have done on the daily basis is formed an overlapping value with a tail at the top, but this is not having much of volumes. So we have not seen any big seller who has come in at open at this 51,800 level and push it down. We don't have any volumes. It is just that the lack of buyers here has forced a move lower. So for tomorrow, definitely in this probe back to 51730, we did get some good selling here. So this will be our reference. This 51720 RS bar would be our reference on the upside for tomorrow, and we will need to take this out on initiative buy side volumes. Only then we can be bullish in Bank Nifty futures for tomorrow. On the downside, we will need to show some sell side volumes at this anchored VWAP. So that is how it is in Bank Nifty. We are been forming a balance. In fact, we can merge even these two profiles. And here you can see we have kind of being rejecting this POC. So this 51500 being held, we can expect this auction to make a fresh move to the upside. We can in fact also merge these two profiles because the value is similar, and we can have this value area as our reference for tomorrow, along with the order flow levels which we have marked. So you can see how that value area high is matching with that RS bar of 51,720. 51,628 would be our first reference on the downside, and this anchored VWAP would be the lower reference. So this is how we are placed in Bank Nifty futures, and I hope we are very clear in terms of the structure, both on the monthly as well as weekly. And as I mentioned, we are looking to be bullish sentiment wise, but it is not that we are going to trade that view blindly. We will need that confirmation from order flow and also from market profile on a daily basis to confirm that we are headed higher in this festive week. So in for any case we form lower value tomorrow, then that bullishness for the festival day would get negated, and we will look at where the buyer will want to come back in the auction. So that is it for now from my side, guys. Thanks for joining in and hope this was helpful to you. Any suggestions you have, any queries, you can post them to me on X. My X ID is open for DMs. It is at Uttam Goel. And we also have a community and a live trading room where all of us like-minded traders sit together and discuss these charts and order flow and look for some good setups and trade them throughout the day. So in case you are interested in joining us, you can have the details on the website vtrender.com, and you can look to uh, take up this and see if it is sinking in with your trading style. So, and just a quick look if there are any questions. Thank you all for joining in. So that is it from our side. Any queries, you can please feel free to DM me on X. Signing off for now, guys. Have a great week and happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of you in advance.